What's core MAGA now?
I have no idea.
I think I know. Trump has said from the beginning...
Pedophile supporting Israeli lobby? Well, I mean...
You just heard from Sean Ryan, a pro-Trump podcaster who's become increasingly disillusioned with the MAGA movement because, as he put it, it stands for nothing but pedophilia and the Israel lobby at this point. And he's one of many MAGA pundits that has hopped off the Trump train recently. And even though Trump still holds a lot of influence over the GOP electorate, his cultural relevance has completely collapsed at this point, which is significant because at the start of his second term, it really felt like fascists had conquered us politically and culturally. Multinational corporations rolled back their diversity initiatives to align with Trump's new fascist values. Social media sites announced the Twitterification of their platforms. Mark Zuckerberg, for example, greenlit hate speech towards LGBTQ plus people on Meta platforms again. Not to mention, Trump's popularity among the bro podcast sphere in conjunction with the rise of the manosphere genre really made it seem like the brains of an entire generation of young men would be lost to the fascist mind virus for a very long time, but polls show that they've generally soured on the MAGA movement, and that's significant because at the start of Trump 2.0, right-wing degenerates like Glenn Beck, they expressed that for the first time ever, it really felt like the conservatives were the cool kids, and even though I hate to admit that, I would agree, yes, they were very culturally dominant at the start of 2025.
There's been a sea change. We're at the very beginning of it, but it's strange. I was just talking to Donald Trump. I was doing a fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago a couple of days ago, and I said, I think we're like the cool kids now. I've never been at the cool kids table.
This is wild.
But just 2 years later, we're already reverting back to homeostasis. All of the vibes-driven, wave-riding grifters are already jumping ship. Losers like Anna Kasparian in that video, who were trying to ingratiate herself with MAGA, was forced to eat shit and admit that she was wrong about Donald Trump. Painfully so. She had to recalibrate in order to align with conservatives who also turned on Donald Trump like Candace Owens, because she quickly realized that the MAGA trajectory she was on was a dead end. Right-wing ideologues who were titans of the online right like Ben Shapiro are fading into obscurity faster than anyone thought was possible. People whose political ideologies and entire identities were based purely on the Trump cult of personality are now left in this weird state of limbo, wondering what to think now that their entire worldview and theory of change has fallen apart before their very eyes. And you're seeing former MAGA diehards like Sean Ryan grapple with that reality in real time and try to learn how to think for himself, perhaps for the first time ever.
I don't know. I don't know what to think anymore. I don't even trust my own intuition when it comes to politics, because I thought things were going to be so different, and I got fucking duped.
Nobody knows anything about anything.
That's projection. You don't know anything about anything, Megyn Kelly. But as someone who initially opposed Donald Trump back in 2016, she was forced to embrace him in order to have any relevance online whatsoever. But less than 2 years into the second Trump term, she's already off the Trump train once again because she senses that Trumpism is reaching its endpoint, at least in its current iteration, and she knows that she has no choice but to bail now unless she wants to have Trump stink on her permanently, which is what a lot of them are worried about right now. It's why there's speculation about J.D. Vance and whether or not he might wait to run for president until 2032, because he knows his association with Donald Trump is going to be an albatross around his neck in 2028. It's just too soon. It's why MAGA darlings have been reduced to laughingstocks even by their own movements. Just last year, think about this. Sydney Sweeney starred in a jeans commercial that was applauded by Nazis due to its eugenics dog whistle. And less than a year later, she's already the subject of viral transvestigations along with Erica Kirk, the new standard bearer for Turning Point USA, which has all but become irrelevant. Even libs of TikTok is pointing out how corporations once too afraid to even acknowledge the existence of queer people are back to virtue signaling to LGBTQ plus people again, because the fear of MAGA backlash is obviously waning. In fact, the opposite is starting to happen. To show you what I mean, Republican fascist Andy Ogles tweeted, "Homosexuality has no place in America," and the backlash was so severe, he actually deleted that tweet and blamed it on a staffer. And I just want to emphasize how rare it is to see a Republican, any Republican, back away from anything ever, especially a bigoted tweet in the Trump era. That is significant because a year ago, we all know he would have doubled and tripled down. And the fact that he didn't indicates that politicians know Americans are fed up with the Trump-style shenanigans. There's just no appetite for it at this point. This behavior that we've been subjected to by Donald Trump, it's not cute. Nobody finds it funny or endearing in a weird way. We're just fucking tired of it, and they know that we're tired of it. And on the subject of pride, formerly pro-LGBTQ plus Republicans like Nancy Mace, which was a rarity, decided to hitch her wagon to MAGA by monopolizing discourse when it comes to the trans bathroom panic issue in order to elevate herself among MAGA diehards. But fast forward to today, and she's having a mental breakdown because she's polling in 5th place in South Carolina's gubernatorial race, and she resorted to pretending that Trump endorsed her when he didn't. He endorsed her opponent, and you could see the crash out in real time. And we've reached the point where some of the biggest names in the MAGA movement have publicly distanced themselves from Donald Trump or outright turned on him altogether, like Alex Jones and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson. Or if they haven't done that, they've just kind of faded into obscurity altogether. And then there's also the portion of MAGA burnouts like Nancy Mace, Pam Bondi, Tulsi Gabbard, and others, and soon to be more, I would imagine, who were left high and dry after they hitched their wagons to him. It was career suicide in the end. And the optics of Trumpism, the Epstein files, and pedophilia support, as well as support for the genocidal country of Israel, has just destroyed the temporary cultural cachet that Trump had at the start of his second term. Anyone who rode that wave is already running away from it as fast as they can, because in 2026, MAGA is synonymous with losers and pedophiles and corruption and war crimes because its figurehead is a dying old racist slob with dementia, bruised hands, and a fucking neck pussy. But it was always going to end this way because these people are too fucking weird and too insular to monopolize culture for an extended period of time. And even though the cultural death of MAGA doesn't necessarily signal that its political death is also imminent, it's nevertheless a key domino that had to fall for the Trump era to end. I mean, the cultural component to MAGA could have technically outlived Donald Trump. This reality-denying, hyper-masculine energy could have remained the Republican Party's brand for generations to come. I mean, it's popular around the world. But the fact that everyone's already sick and tired of it is a sign that the Trump era will, in fact, end with Donald Trump's political career or life. And it's important for us to acknowledge that because it gives us a reason to actually be hopeful again. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything is going to go back to normal, whatever that means. We might remain a de facto authoritarian regime for quite some time. Right-wing extremism is probably going to continue to be a threat for the foreseeable future. But the death of Trumpism specifically as a cultural phenomenon does give us more favorable conditions to work with. Having said that, we've still got a very, very long way to go before we get back to basic reality and common sense in this country. And while it's important to encourage MAGA conversion, it's also incumbent on us to never, ever let these shitheads live this down. A lot of them knew better, and for the ones that didn't know better, they at least need to know that there is a cultural cost to embracing racism, bigotry, and open fascism. If we let them off easy, there's going to be no disincentive for them to run into the arms of the next fascist demagogue when they inevitably rise. And I'll admit, I am getting ahead of myself because Trump is still in power now, so we're in the thick of it. But I think that we have to talk about this now because we have a responsibility to make sure that the backlash to the Trump era is so severe that every single person who so much as flirted with it, even temporarily, knows they're going to be a social pariah for the rest of their fucking lives. We should never forgive them for the irreparable damage they caused to this country by empowering an obvious criminal con man fascist. They should feel our scorn and judgment and lack of respect until the day they fucking die. And quite frankly, I don't care if people think that I'm being too harsh. MAGA cultists never considered the pain and suffering that they caused by going full fascist, so I think that we should show them as much empathy as they showed others, which is none. And really, it's not about them. It's about future generations. It's about protecting them. We are stuck with the current political climate because our grandparents and great-grandparents, they never adequately punished racist, Confederate, fascist fuckwads. Some of them participated in it. Many of them did. And I think that it's time for our generation to break that cycle. We need to commit to full demagnification akin to German denazification in the aftermath of World War II, because it's not good enough to just shame these people for ever being part of this movement. We need to undo their brainwashing so we can reintegrate them back into civilized society so we can actually fucking function. We have to treat them like the feral animals they are and domesticate them before they bite us again. But that project aside, I will say I am pleased to see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but we have an obligation to future generations to do everything in our power to prevent this from ever happening again, which means we don't forgive and we sure as shit don't forget.
Do yourself a favor and click the join button on YouTube to become a member. Because Mike's doing a great job getting to watch his videos before everyone else is tremendous. Many people are saying this. Join today, folks. You won't regret it.